Astronauts to the moon.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
What's going on, everyone? It is Jaron from Jeranism, back with another live video for you today. Should be fairly quick. Wanted to discuss the Flat Earth International Conference and point out that even those in attendance at the conference get it completely wrong. So we'll check that out, and we'll keep this short. Maybe under an hour would be my hope. And if you are sad because you missed my voice, well, just tune back in at 6 p.m. Pacific, as we'll be going live from this very channel for Jeranism Monday Night Raw, where you can find that here, or you can also find it at truthfrequencyradio.com. So check it out if you miss me at the end of this video. Let's move on here. So the case in point that I really want to talk about is this character, this guy. His name is Dylan from Not Exactly Normal. And I'm actually going to pop this into the chat real quick. Here you go. Oops, that's not where it is. Let me find this video for you. 1 second. And this way we all can go over there if you want to and drop a comment with a link to this show, just telling them, hey, check this out. Somebody is commenting on your Inside a Flat Earth Conference video. It's got already 113,000 views. So I just put that into the chat. There you go. All right, so go to that link, follow that link, and you'll see the original video called Inside a Flat Earth Conference. And if you want to drop the link to this video, just letting Dylan know that we are about to cover it. So let me get over there so we're all on the same page here. And there we go. All right, and we'll bring you over so you're looking at what I'm looking at, and we should be good to go. All right, so we're just going to take this piece by piece and kind of go through it. He went inside the Flat Earth International Conference in Denver. So let's take a look at how much he got right and how much he got wrong, which is quite a lot. So let's see here. Let's start this video and watch it together. Here we go. Hopefully the sound is working. I believe it is.
Once you go flat, you can't go back.
Hi, I'm Dylan, and this is Not Exactly Normal. The name of the show comes from a quote from Tim Burton's 1990 Batman film, in which Vicky Vale says to Batman, "You're not exactly normal, are you?" To which Batman replies, "It's not exactly a normal world, is it?" And for flat earthers, that statement couldn't be more accurate. This week, I'm in the great state of Colorado, the Sunshine State as a certain paper manager would call it, to attend the second annual Flat Earth International Conference. I, like many of you watching, grew up being taught that the Earth was spherical. We learned about the spinning of the globe, the curve of the horizon, and we saw, photos of the Earth taken by astronauts in outer space.
All right, so really quickly, we have a problem here. What was he talking about that we learned about the curve of the horizon? Guess he's talking about the curve that doesn't exist. Must be what he's talking about. And yes, he's right. We all were taught the spherical Earth rammed down our throats at the age of 5 in school, and it continues in every commercial, logo, movie intro. We all know that. The barrage is basically constant. He then says the curve of the horizon. Of course, he's talking about what's seen through a fisheye lens, I'm gathering, or rather any lens. One such lens is, of course, our eye, which, of course, is spherical. So if you're observing a horizon over long distances, the outer edges of our view are pulled back. This is fact. So it gives the illusion of curvature. I guess you could probably say that. But it certainly is not curvature, and our eye works as a lens. So one thing that he missed there. But let's continue on a little bit further here.
Yet despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary, there's a burgeoning movement of flat Earth believers.
Yeah, it's not just overwhelming, evidence to the contrary. It's overwhelming evidence for the Earth being flat and stationary that's causing flat Earthers to become flat Earthers. Nobody hears all about the globe and goes through school and then just one day says, nah, it's flat. It's not the way it works. People might assume that's how we became flat Earthers. It's not true at all. We became flat Earthers after looking into it, which you would think this guy's doing, right? He's taking the time to actually go to the conference. Well, we're about to learn that even people who attend the conference don't get it. They don't have a clue. They can't even represent correctly our arguments. Let us continue.
Or trolls. I'm not really sure. Let's find out.
So he basically said he's going to find out whether we're talking about trolls or true believers. I believe by the end he correctly surmises that everyone who went to the conference is a flat Earth believer, but says 80% of the flat Earthers online are trolls. Total nonsense.
When you have somebody like NASA, employees on record saying it's Photoshop because it
That's Rick.
So he puts on a little dirty look there after Rick Hummer says that it's Photoshop because it has to be, because this is an actual quote from Rob Simon, who said that the Earth is Photoshop because, well, everybody's saying it in their head, it has to be. He just puts this very uncomfortable look on his face and goes on. There's a big point there when you've got, visualization artists from NASA saying that the Earth is, of course, Photoshop because it has to be. So you just skipped over that like it meant nothing. I can see why. Let's continue.
Rick Hummer, the MC for the second annual Flat Earth International Conference. And like everybody here, he believes that the Earth is flat.
everybody say these three words: I'm not ashamed.
I'm not ashamed.
The crazy thing is we've seen it my whole life. You've seen it your whole life. And if you've ever been to a lake shore, it's flat. The water's flat. Water's a natural level.
Yeah, I don't think that's the crazy part, Rick.
I don't think that's the crazy part, Rick. So, okay. So you just said earlier the curve of the horizon. Now somebody's claimed to you that the horizon is always flat and level. And he said, I don't think that's the crazy part. All right.
Promoting Santa, the New World Order, NASA, and more.
And also, that's another thing, too, misconception is they'll say, these idiots don't believe the Earth is round. Yes, we do. Pizza's round. A penny's round.
Everybody's under this, in this conspiracy with them. Yeah. And then
I want you to note one thing, too. Listen to the music that is being played behind this. This isn't as bad as later. Later, when we have some people giving some absolute devastating globe killers, you've got clown music playing in the background. So typical globe Earth attempt, you take something that people are saying that's filled with knowledge and just put some clown music behind it and make it sound ridiculous. Well, we'll see that here shortly. Let's continue.
You figure out it's not everybody's in a conspiracy with them. Everybody's the same spot as you were just before you just found out the information that you were at.
From what I've learned, the Flat Earth movement is all about skepticism. It's about questioning everything that you've been taught, which is something that I'm sure globe Earth believers would support. Not that you should.
No, Globe Earth believers do not believe that you should question everything that you're taught, because when you do question things that you're taught, you're called idiots, ridiculous, morons, dumb. So get your fact right there.
Shouldn't mention Globers around this crowd. So what is the Flat Earth model? Well, being such a young movement with members all around the world, there is some disagreement on the specifics. The most popular model supposes that the Earth kind of looks like the UN map, with a giant ice wall formed by Antarctica that keeps everything in.
So that's kind of the idea when it comes to Antarctica. We believe it's more of the outer ring, and it's what keeps the oceans in.
The atmosphere is a dome, either physical or ethereal, and stars and planets are just points of light outside the dome. A core belief is that the employees of NASA are a bunch of liars.
No, not the core belief is that all the employees of NASA are a bunch of liars. No, they're a bunch of deceived people, as we've pointed out, as I pointed out in my speech, blinded by their letters of commendation and their PhDs and their doctorates.
Through where NASA came from and why I don't think that you should believe in them.
They're liars!
They film their scenes underwater in pools and then superimpose them using green screens to get them onto CGI spaceships.
You ever see astronauts floating with wires and wild hairspray sticking out?
They do it for a $51 million a day operating budget.
Yeah, it's actually 56. They did.
Thank you, Robbie. 56.
They bumped it now. It's 56 million, but yeah.
Oh, 56. Sorry.
Yeah.
Despite this large payday, NASA is apparently quite sloppy as a...
So he just said, despite this large payday, they're quite sloppy. Okay, so you just remember that because it's going to be important here in a second. He's saying, so despite their large payday, $56 million a day, they are rather sloppy. Okay?
A lot of clues have been dug up. Most notably, bubbles.
When I put hashtag NASA lies into the reservoir that's already there, it's powerful content to show conclusive proof that NASA is a deceptive organization.
So why would anybody believe this? Well, evidence aside,
Well, because of the evidence. Why would anybody believe this? I can't imagine why.
for many flat earthers, it's largely religious.
Okay, so he said for many, many flat earthers, it's largely religious, and that is true. And is that a problem? Well, in my opinion, yes, it is. I would wish that religion would be left out of flat Earth completely. Why? Because it can be proven without religion. I don't need the Bible to prove that the Earth is flat. I don't need it at all. You'll never see me using the Bible or saying this verse says that it's flat, because that's no different to me than, let me give an example, and this is not to call anybody out or say anything bad about anybody. People are free to believe what they want and make whatever shirts they want, etc. At this event, I did see a lot of people wearing a shirt that says, Bible says flat Earth. That's what the shirt says. In my opinion, that's not a great shirt. Okay? Because I could go to a Globe Earth convention, and what would I say to people who had a shirt that said, Newton's book proves gravity. Newton's book says sphere Earth. Who cares? Who cares what Newton's book says, and who cares what the other book says? That's just my opinion. Again, people can believe what they want. So I can see a problem, but this will always be connected to religion because the Bible is a flat Earth book. Now, in my opinion, that's because when it was written, people thought the Earth was flat, and so they wrote it accordingly. Now, you might get other people say other things. The most absurd thing would be if it was in the Bible that it was a sphere, way before anybody was ever taught that nonsense. But let's continue.
I recently picked this up on Amazon, this interesting levitating, rotating, floating moon. About $20, pretty cool. Check it out. A self-illuminating moon, floating, no problem.
And okay, nice face. I don't really get what he's so upset about here, but obviously my bet would be, and I don't know anything about this Dylan character, my bet would be that he isn't religious at all, and so simply the fact that Rob Skiba's up there speaking about flat Earth allows him to roll his eyes. I kind of get it. The other part is that all I care about is you being a good person. That's it for me. If you're a good person, I don't care how you get there. I don't care if you believe in Jesus. I don't care if you have to believe that he was raised from the dead. I don't care if you believe he had to walk across water. I don't care what it is that makes you a good person. That's all that matters. And when I go to these events and I sit next to Rob Skiba and we have a conversation and he's not throwing at my face, you're going to burn in hell and you need to find Jesus tomorrow, Jaron. He doesn't. He talks to me like a human being. We can talk back and forth because we both believe that the Earth is flat. That's where religion is fine in this movement, and I don't have a problem with it. Where it becomes a problem is when people like Dean Odell go out and attack others that don't have the same belief as he does. That's a problem, because I don't care if people believe in the God, the God, the bucket God. I don't know, whatever God you want to, the spaghetti monster. If believing in that to you makes you a good person, then I don't care. It doesn't bother me. It's when you bring that out of your personal house and you say, well, I'm going to come out and say, well, you don't believe in this spaghetti monster and therefore you're going to burn in hell. Well, then I have a problem with that because you should care first whether I'm a good person or not. So if Dean Oto really cared about people, he would look at me and say, Jaren's a good person. He's not out attacking me. And then he would be nice. But he doesn't. He doesn't do that way. So let's continue.
And I continue to look on Amazon and elsewhere. I found this on YouTube, this levitating clock. Now, if you read Genesis, the creation account, it says the sun, moon, and stars are put there for time and for seasons. This is a big clock. Now, if we can make toys and novelty clocks with this principle, I'm going to go out on a limb and suggest the absurd notion that it just may be possible that the Creator could have come up with something similar. Just call me crazy.
Deal. They believe that if the Earth is a globe, then the Big Bang Theory is accurate, which means that nothing created the world and there is no God. Whereas with the Flat Earth model, there is no scientific explanation besides there being an all-powerful creator who created the Earth and placed humans at the center of it.
I'm just seriously questioning the reality and what we've been taught, that we're a spinning ball flying through space, that nothing created everything. I mean, that's crazy, and that we're called crazy, and that people would rather believe science when they say that nothing exploded and created everything, and that's what they teach.
The truth, when you get right down to it, it's going to be right in your face, and you're either going to have to believe that God made you, and His Word is true, and He means what He says, or not.
He's the living...
I don't think it's as simple as that. I don't think it needs to be this false dichotomy. Because I do believe that that the Earth that we live in was created for us. That's my belief. Now, if you have other beliefs about God's word must be true and this and that, well, God's never told me that He wrote any book. That's just me. However, I can look at nature, I can look at everything that's created and see the amazingness of it and know that it did have a creator, a purpose. A lot of people still fail to see that, but let's continue.
Living water, he says. He lives now in and through me. I was a walking dead man. I was spiritually dead.
See, now I talked to Robert quite a bit while I was there, and all that matters to me with Robert is he's a good person. And he claims that it's because of Jesus, that Jesus touched his life, that God now acts through him. Well, he can believe that all he wants. I think it's more impressive than that. I think he did it. I think Robert did it himself. I think Robert's a better person himself. Now, that's just my opinion, but let's continue. This guy's trying to use Robert as an example and show, look at how crazy this religious guy is, and you can think that if you want. All that matters is that he's a good person.
Dad, I used to drink vodka for breakfast, smoke cigarettes in the shower.
Or Crown Royal.
They view NASA as the creation of the devil, and it was through the devil.
They view NASA as the creation of the devil? Where did you get that from?
That NASA was founded by Nazis, Freemasons, and Scientologists in order to convince the world that God doesn't exist. They don't believe that the Earth fits in with the heliocentric...
It's not in order to convince the world that God doesn't exist. They took every direction they could to get to the point where there was no God involved. That's where we've ended up, and that's why you've got the crazy nonsense that you've got now, the endless space and the planets and the galaxies and the spinnings and the speeds and expansion, and all that is to mask the fact that we are the center. Now, you can come up with other theories. Oh, no, we're not quite the center. The reason everything's moving away from us is because we all exist on a balloon. And then when the balloon blows up, then we move away from each other at equal speeds. And that's why every galaxy looks like it's moving away from us, because if you were on another planet in another galaxy, it would look like everything's moving away from that one too. And, that's up to them. They want to believe that, that's fine. But please don't misrepresent what flat earthers believe.
Model of our solar system, and instead believe that we are the center of everything. In their model, the sun and the moon are much smaller and orbit in concentric patterns, somewhat like the yin-yang symbol. Many believe that space isn't real, and that satellites are just suspended from balloons. They also believe that the ISS is fake because 60 people died building the World Trade Center, and apparently nobody died building the ISS.
Good point. And because they have to play everything through this spherical camera that you can't even see. You're looking at this as if this is a real picture. Clearly, this is taken through a domed camera. But let's continue.
Oh, and because there are a lot of documentaries about Hitler, but apparently none about the ISS. The first question I always ask conspiracy theorists about their respective conspiracy theories
Please, ask me.
Who's gaining from this? The answer in this case is NASA.
And it's not just NASA, it's the that whole perspective that is showing fakery.
Yeah.
Well, NASA is a tool. Okay, NASA's a tool, not that NASA is making all this money, and so this whole thing is just NASA making money. No, NASA is a tool used by the elite to convince the public that they live on a ball.
Some of them don't know that they're lying because they're deceived, and they don't know that they're also deceivers.
They cite NASA's $56 million a day operating budget as their motive,
Mhm.
but I really don't think that's enough money to even cover the cost of production.
Is he kidding me on that one? So $56 million a day is not enough to cover the production of faking events, but it is enough to successfully carry them out. Does anybody believe that nonsense? I can't even believe that was spoken by a human being, that the production costs on faking the moon landings would be more than actually going to the moon. Sure.
Not only would they have to fake literally every space event in the last 50 years, keep in mind that NASA's supposed
No, it's not even difficult. They don't have to fake every space event. They launch rockets. Everybody in the crowd goes, ooh and ah, and they film it and they feel really excited about it. And then the thing goes out of your view. And then they show you a camera view of something in a warehouse and call it space. So it's not even difficult. How hard is that? How much money does that take? Pretty sure $56 million a day allows you to launch pretty rockets. Thank you for the super chat. I totally appreciate that. I did tell people that I would answer those, so I will answer those shortly. 1 second.
Runs every other
Let's
country's
continue
space
with this.
programs, but the conspiracy would have to be baked into so many other industries.
Okay, what other industries?
Flying, for example. I've flown from here.
Okay, so watch this now. This is going to be interesting here. He says he's flown from where? Where have you flown from?
From Toronto to Japan.
Okay, you flew from
and
Toronto
across the Pacific. In the
to
flat Earth
Japan.
model-
Across the Pacific? You flew across the Pacific from Toronto to Japan? Doubt that. Let's see.
I could still go over the Pacific, but I would have to make a huge arc. When the faster method...
Okay, so what he's showing here is he's saying, I could have gone across the Pacific, but I would have to fly way out here. And this is what he doesn't understand. Not a person in flat Earth thinks this is the path that you take to get to Japan, except for you. You're the only one who thinks that. What's this green line that you're drawing here? The quicker way, he says, would be to go across over here above Alaska and end up at Japan. Well, Dylan, this is for you because I don't understand how you do zero research before you make a video like this. Let's go to Flight Tracker. We're going to do this together. Actually, I need to bring you onto my browser screen so you can see it a little better. Let's do that. Okay. We're on a Flight Tracker. We're going to search together here. We're going to go Toronto, T-O-R. No, sorry, T-O-R. No, that's not the code, but it's, what is it, YYZ. All right, so this is Toronto Airport. We're going to look for departures. We're going to try and find a plane that goes to Japan. Here we go. Sometimes I might have to see here. Chicago, Ottawa. Sorry, we're going to try and find this together. 1 second. Computer is slowing down a little bit. Hello. Okay, 1 second. I need to get a little bit more of these loaded. Why aren't any more of these loading? All right, let's see here. I want to get more of these to come up. Departures. Well, that's not all the departures. Where is... Let me see here. I don't think I'm going to find it. G-A-P-A-N. Sorry about this. I didn't have this set up because I thought you could just hit more departures and we would eventually find a Japan. Why isn't this thing working? Let's go over here again. G-O-R. Toronto and departures. Okay, wait, maybe more. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so here's the departures. All right, so here we are. We're going to see if we can find any. Show all departures. All right, bear with me on this one. We're going to find these are all departures, and so we're trying to find a nonstop flight to Japan, and I don't see one off the top of my scan there, but let me search. Find J-A-P. Nothing yet. Japan. Nope. Let's keep looking. I would think there would be non-stop flights since he said he took one. Let's keep looking a little bit more. Load later flights. If we can't find one, we'll just go to like New York and search from New York because I don't see... Is there really not any Japan? Well, he said he took the flight. I don't see it. Let me look again here. J-A-P-A-N. Not sure why I don't see any flights for Japan. Let's go a little bit more. Should be one a week at least, I would think, but let's see. Later flights. All right, I don't see it. Let's go back here, and instead we'll look from New York. We'll go to JFK. JFK. Be close enough to show you exactly what I mean. We're looking departures from JFK. And we're going to go more, because I don't see one there. I'm sure there's Japan flights from JFK. Let's go to departures. Show all departures. All right, and let's see. Control find JAPAN. Are you kidding me? Oops, later flights. Is there no flights out of... Maybe I'll put in Tokyo. Maybe that's why I'm messing up. TOKYO. No. All right. That's great. I thought that there would be flights all over the place from JFK to, or from, and I don't see any. Tokyo, Japan. Nope. Let me load a few more. Oh, here's Hong Kong. We'll go there. Oops. I just lost it. There we go. Hong Kong. We'll go to this flight. So CX-841. Okay, just to show an example here, CX-841. Okay, so we can go here and we can play any flight from New York to Hong Kong. Let's go to this one. No, here, play. So, long about way of showing you, look at how this flight went. So, this, oops. Okay, from New York they went east. I'm trying to get it to go west. God darn it. All right. Well, as anyone can see here, what he basically did was drew a line from here to here, only he went this way. Drew a line across the Pacific as if that's the way people fly. They don't. They fly, if you leave Toronto and go to Hong Kong, you'll go here, and you'll fly above Alaska, which, what do you know, matches exactly. Let's see here. Oops, that's my own video. Where did I go with his? Here we go. So this flight here is actually the path that he took. So, and I wish I could fly that for you. I'll have to, real quick, I'm going to try one more time just to see. We're going to go Toronto, because something's wrong here. There's got to be that flight. He says he took it. Oops, not there. TOR. And is it Toronto Pearson International Airport? Yeah, that's the right one. That's okay. So we're going there. Yeah, the weird thing is usually there's a button down here that just says more. And you click more and more come up, but I don't see it. So let's see if we can find one to, let's go more. I'm going to try and find one to Tokyo then. Or Hong Kong, any one of those. Let's see, departure. Show all departures. So now we're looking at departures from Toronto. Just to show you exactly his mistake. You might already see it. Obviously you should. But we're going to hit this a couple times and load these. See if we can find one. Toronto. Now I'm trying to look on the left to see Montreal, Denver, Calgary, North Bay, Winnipeg, London, Vancouver, Detroit, Houston. I don't see any yet. Boston. Nope. We'll go a little bit more. I mean, if you look at these flight times, we're not even at a day's worth of flights yet. So let me just click this a couple times and then we'll search it. If we can get at least 2 days worth of flights on this sheet, we'll be able to find one. But Washington, Baltimore, Raleigh, New York. Let me pull down a little bit more. Bear with me, bear with me. All right, that's all that it's bringing up. Now let's search for Tokyo. There we go. All right, so here's one. AC1. Okay, so we're going to, let me close this out. We don't need that one anymore. We just need this one. All right, so here's some flights, and we're going to go down to play one of these. We'll play this one. Just a random flight. And that is the kind of nonsense we usually get. Great. This flight didn't even track the flight. Look at it. Flew all the way over here, and it only picked up the flight when it flew into Japan here. That's classic. Let's continue. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Let's go play a different flight and see if one actually tracked the whole flight. There we go. All right. So this flight here left Toronto, goes up here above Alaska, and comes down into Japan here, or Tokyo, or wherever. And he said he took that flight and he drew a picture across. Let's go back just a little bit so we can show the ridiculousness of this. This is the flight he says he took.
In the flat Earth model, I could still go over the Pacific.
No, you can't go over the Pacific. You don't even. That's not the way you fly there. So.
But I would have to make a huge arc, when the faster method would be to fly.
Yeah, the faster method would be exactly the way you flew.
Fly right past the Arctic Circle.
So hopefully people see that. It was a quick point that he made, but a complete nonsense one. You cannot just take a Mercator map, a Mercator projection, and draw a line from Toronto to Japan. Nobody believes that that's the way you fly. So you've, again, misrepresented completely what flat earthers believe, and then showed the flight
flat
that...
Earth model, I
listen,
could still go over the Pacific, but I would have to make a huge arc, when the faster method would be to fly right past
the
Arctic
what?
Circle.
The Arctic Circle, which is exactly what you did. Let's look again at here. And Dylan, this is the direction that you flew. The direction that you flew was up above the Arctic Circle, into the Arctic Circle above Alaska, and down here. You just proved exactly our point, but you're using it in your video as if you made a point in favor of the globe. You didn't, unless you believe that planes fly straight across the Pacific to get to Japan. Sorry, you should have looked out the window. You would have seen land throughout your entire flight till you got to about here or here. Rather, you think you flew this way. So clearly you did not. Any flight tracker will tell you that. We can go down even further if you want to find one down here and see that all flights from Tokyo to Japan fly into the Arctic Circle. Look at this one, how high this one went. But yet you claim that if, doesn't make any sense. You said, well, a faster way to go would be straight across this way above the Arctic Circle. That is the way you flew. That is exactly what you did. So check into that. Let's continue on with more of his nonsense.
Their explanation?
Planes are not like driving a car, right? Yeah. So are they navigating from sight? Or are they navigating from equipment?
And they just run based on like GPS, which is owned by the U.S. military, by the way.
They're not actually knowing.
If you listen, there's clown music playing in the background.
If they're going east or west, right. The only thing that's telling them that is the equipment.
Right. Most planes, they're not even operated. I mean, they're sitting there having naps or, you know, playing games because it's autopilot, right? It's running on a computerized system.
In order to...
So he adds some you know, circus music behind that to hide the point, which is something that everybody should know, and I think maybe everybody does know, is that your planes are not being flown by pilots. There's not pilots holding onto the steering wheel, flying the plane into clouds up in the sky. It's not the way it works. They can't even see the ground. They're just flying above the clouds, all done by computerized systems. A couple stories that I heard recently. I was randomly listening to some radio show when I was driving, and I heard some lady who's an author who wrote a book about, I don't know, child suicide, I think, or something to that effect. Her child had almost committed suicide. She said she was getting on the plane, and she saw the cockpit open, and there was two pilots in there, and she handed each one of them a copy of her book and said, hey, just want to give you a copy of my book, you know, read it if you want. So when she was getting off the plane, one of the pilots came to her and said, hey, just wanted to say, excellent book. I really enjoyed it. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he said, oh, I just read your book on the flight. And she said, weren't you flying the plane? And he says, no, we don't fly the plane. I take off and I land, but I had time to read your book throughout the flight. And she was just shocked. And it had nothing to do with flat Earth. She was just bringing it up in a random radio conversation. But I thought it was interesting that people still think that the pilots are up there flying the plane. You can also hear Buzz Aldrin talk about it, that he says, well, flying isn't anything like it used to be. Now he goes up in the cockpit, and they won't even let him touch the steering wheel because the computer's controlling it. And the guys are up there playing chess, playing checkers, playing cards, reading books, taking naps. I just heard a story the other day that some pilot fell asleep, and the plane flew like 30 miles past its distance till he realized he was sleeping and had to turn around. So these things, it's done by computers, you know. Let's continue on here a little bit. Oh, and I do realize now that you're not looking at the correct screen. I'm sorry about that. We want to go with that one. So let us continue. But again, he's putting, you know, circus music behind it to give it a bad taste in your mouth. When actually every point that was made right there was a fantastic point about flying that people need to understand. It's all done electronically. All of it. Just like your north-south when you're looking at your compass. It's in your phone now. Nobody even has a compass with a magnetics in it that is figuring out which direction is north is. The phone tells you what direction north is, just like the software inside planes gets you from point A to point B, not the pilots.
Back up these claims, they cherry-pick the information that best suits their narrative, and they ignore...
Oh, flat earthers cherry-pick the evidence that best serves their narrative, but not globe believers. Nope, not the ones that go back to 2,300 years ago and say, but this test done by Eratosthenes proved the spherical Earth. Give me a break.
Or ridicule or claim falsity of any information that doesn't support their model.
Not true. We don't claim false of anything that doesn't support our model. We look into it and we test it, and then we come to a conclusion.
With that said, the movement is all about testing things for yourself.
Great.
So I actually took this spirit level onto an airplane.
Yeah.
And I propped it on the tray table to where the bubble was centered. The bubble was centered pretty much the whole time. So the plane was flying level, as if it's flying over a flat plane.
It's about relying on your...
It's so classic that pilots out there actually use that as a proof. They're like, no, the plane never dips its nose down. Yeah, that's because you're flying over a flat Earth. That's exactly the point. And they'll try and spin that for a globe. Well, on the globe, we wouldn't need to point the nose down because everywhere is level on the globe. Just think of this. I've tried to draw this picture for people before. It's very difficult for them to grasp and understand. But picture a Home Depot. You're at a Home Depot. I don't know where you're from. If you're not, I'm talking about a large outdoor store. I mean, a large hardware store, like a Lowe's, a Home Depot. Picture a long Home Depot, but now picture it without walls. And just say Home Depots go as far as the eye can imagine in every direction. Say they're 10 miles, 20 miles away. Well, the globe belief is no matter where you went in that Home Depot, that you would measure it being level everywhere you went. Such a ridiculous argument because it gets you out of everything. No matter what test is done or whatever shows that water's level, they just say, well, yeah, it's level wherever you are because everything pulls to the center. Even though there's no evidence of that at all, this is a belief you have to hold if you're a globe believer. Well, of course water's level. It's level everywhere. Just like what D. Marble did on his test, when you take a level up on a plane, if you believe in the globe Earth, well, of course it's always level because the sphere is always level. Everywhere on the sphere is level. There's curvature, but it's all level curve. It just makes no sense. It's crap.
Your information, not information gathered by others. Yet...
There's not one person in here that is so intellectually strong that you broke the programming on your own.
Oh, okay.
What we're looking here is empirical evidence to help unpack some of the deception so that people can look at, wow, water doesn't stick to a stationary ball, and it certainly won't stick to a spinning ball.
The good thing is there's enough info in this video that I actually like it. So I'm highlighting it. That's why the link is in the description. That's why I encourage people to go over, watch the video, give it a like if you like it, give it a dislike if you don't like it. I just simply feel that the entire conference was misrepresented by Dylan, and I think that he needs to see where he was wrong. Number one, his flights, completely and totally a flat Earth proof that he's put in this video like as if it's a sphere proof, and he's basically making fun of Robert here by saying, well, look at this ball of water here won't hold water, but it's very true. And that ball right there in front of you will not hold water, and neither will a spinning one. But again, these are beliefs that you have to hold if you believe in the sphere Earth. So Dylan didn't actually look into this at all. He didn't want to go to the event because he had an open mind. He went there to make fun of it and to kind of make a joke of it. It's kind of obvious with the looks on his face. He doesn't want to learn. He doesn't want to find out if there's something wrong about his reality. He believes he lives on a spinning ball in space, flying around with many other planets and asteroids and meteors and crazy speeds, 2.2 million miles per hour the Earth is going, but we don't feel anything. And he's showing very clearly that the water on top of his car, I think he shows it here in a second, doesn't move.
Many of these DIY tests involve using water as a natural level.
Absolutely.
I mean, who can't look and see that water's level?
Water exposes the global eye conclusively.
Placing things in water to see if they move.
When we look at the...
Placing things in water to see if they move? I don't know if that's what he's really getting at here, but it's an excellent point. Watch Robert walk over to this completely still
water on top of the car here. It's not moving, so watch what happens. Just bumping the car, and it'll stop later.
Yet it was sitting there completely still a second ago while flying through the endless universe at 2.2 million miles per hour. Believe it if you want. Believe it if you want.
I just laid some heavy truth on you. What are you going to do with it?
Tracking the movements of wind chimes and using the zoom of the Nikon P900 and P1000 to capture far-off images.
Absolutely.
Seriously, they love the Nikon P900 and P1000. They would not stop talking about it.
Absolutely.
It really should be marketed as the flat Earth camera.
It really should be marketed as time to wake up to reality camera. That's what it should be marketed as. Sorry, I'm eating an apple. Because we see too far. Period. End of story. Here's some, let me go here just so you can see. I'll bring you over to what I'm looking at. This is Canigoo. and you've heard me talk about it many times because this observation is from 175 miles away. 175 miles, completely and totally impossible on a ball. The observer is 1,000 feet high. He's seeing a mountain. The top of Canigou is about maybe it's 9,000 feet, and the curvature calculator, if you want to use that, which will usually tell you live on a sphere, puts the curvature at 13,000 feet, and therefore 4,000 feet of this mountain should be behind, not above, but behind the curvature of Earth. You should not be able to see this at all. All I ask you to do is look up Canigou. It's actually Canigou, pronounced Canigou, from Alouche, France. Tons of video footage on here. You can find video, you can find photos, people trying to explain it. You know how they explain it? Let's look. Okay, so you're over here in Alouche, France. You're observing this mountain, which is clearly behind the curvature, except for it's raised up. So you actually see it up here in the sky. Okay? Believe that if you want. Super looming, refraction, double over entendre. I mean, it's just nonsense. They can convince you of everything, anything. We know that. It's not even hard for them to say, oh, well, actually, you're seeing a mountain because it's being lifted. Look at this mountain, folks. This mountain is not being lifted by anything. If you watch a time lapse, the mountain stays completely and totally still. No doubt in my mind that people need to wake up to that fact. We can see too far. How about this one? Let's see, is it here? Well, this is obvious. Go to J. Tolan Media 1. It's J. Tolan, one word, space, Media 1. Watch his observations, and you will be amazed. And if you still believe in the sphere Earth, well, then you just want to believe what men tell you and not what your eyes tell you. Look at these observations. Unbelievable. This is from Tucson to, where was it? To Baja, I believe. Look at the observations that are being seen with IR photography. I'm very excited with my camera. I got a donation. Thank you very much for that donation, by the way. Towards the conversion of my camera, of my P1000 into an IR camera. That'll be coming up very soon. But when you watch these videos and you look and you see these mountains back here that would never be seen with a regular camera, this thing's cutting through the haze. Look at that mountain that just went by there. Let's see if we can get back just a hair. And you can actually see, look at that. Let me pause it there. Look at the snow at the top of this mountain. Unbelievable. Check out J. Tolan Media, and you can see that we see too far. We don't see, it isn't the curvature of the Earth. It isn't a ball Earth. If the Earth is a ball, it's several times larger than they tell us. The ball of 25,000 miles circumference is impossible with the observations being made. Let's see here. I have more video to show you. Which one? How about this one? Absolutely fantastic video. Let me get it a little bit more framed up for you. Check out this video. It's from the channel Flat Reality Earth Explorers. Wendell and Nathan and Sydney did such an awesome job. This is one of the nail in the coffin type observations. Look where she's at here. We've got, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. I'll check those in a second for any questions, comments. So we're talking about 13.5 miles. And let's go to the curve calculator real quick just to show you what we're looking at. First of all, how far off the water is Sydney here? The water's coming up here. Let's say that she's, I don't know, 3 feet. Okay, she's 3 feet above the water. And the camera over here on the other side, they show it on its tripod. We'll get there in 1 second. There you go. There we go. Thank you very much for the super chat. Appreciate that. Let's go back there a little bit. So you can see the camera is, what, 1.5 feet, 2 feet, 3 feet above the water. So we can go to the curve calculator. Let's pop this open. If you want to beg the question, and if you want to basically use this perspective hijacking calculator, but it will still help in the case of proving that we don't live on the sphere. It's a very helpful tool. Eye height. So let's say we said Sydney was at 3 feet at the most. The camera was at 3 feet at the most. So let's go ahead and put in 6 feet, and let's err for the side of the globe, right? So let's make it 10 feet. Okay. Clearly, if you add up the height of both the observer and the camera there, or the camera and the mirror, it's not 10 feet. It's not even close. So I'm erring on the side of the globe. Target distance, 13.5 miles. Calculate that out. We get 61 feet. So imagine that. 61 feet. It's a 6-story building. 61 feet. That's how far behind the curve that mirror should be. Let's go back to the video and see what we see. We pull it out here, and let's see here. Let's go to here. And this is right in my neck of the woods. And let's get to where we can clearly see, as she's got this mirror here, and she's just trying to reflect the sun in that direction. And let's see here. Let's get the mirror shots. There you go. What is that? Do people actually believe that she is 60 feet behind the curve and that somehow we're seeing the reflection? What is happening here? What is it, being lifted up and placed at the horizon for you? No. Clearly, this is one of the best evidences I've seen. We now just need to take this and do even further distances, because the difference between, let's say that this was a laser experiment, okay? And coming across this little bit of water, we saw a laser here. We saw the little point of blue light and whatever, it's hitting us over here, and we say, oh, we're seeing from end to end. Well, I kind of see the Glober's argument where they're saying, no, this point here is actually where the laser is coming over the curvature. All right, I don't agree with it, but I see their argument. Sorry, with the reflection of a mirror, you're not seeing the reflection come over the curvature. It's ridiculous. What you're seeing is the reflection of the mirror. Look into a heliograph. Look into the war when they actually communicated over 150, 200 miles from mountain peak to mountain peak with mirrors. That's how they do it, because you have to have a line of sight in order to see the reflection. If you're not in the line of sight, you would never see the Morse code being sent from position to position. This is proof that the Earth is flat, yet people still can't see it. Look at the reflection of that mirror. Unbelievable. 13 and a half miles should be behind 6-story building worth of curvature, yet we can clearly see the mirror reflecting back. There it is right there. From the beach, you can see the mirror reflecting. So what is it that you believe? That 6 stories below this line, 6 stories below is Sydney flashing the sun, and we're seeing it up here? Come on, folks. Wake up, folks. Come on. I don't know what else we need to see until you wake up, but it just comes down to those who have open minds and those who actually look into it become flat earthers. Those who have closed minds and think flat earth is stupid and think Soundly speaks, truth, and thinks Red's rhetoric speaks truth, and Wolfie 6020 is the greatest thing to happen to the globe and forever. No. These guys, I even heard Wolfie on an interview recently say he doesn't even watch any flat earth videos. What's more closed-minded than that? Continue to go out, Wolfie, and tape the sun setting at 270 West in Honolulu, and don't look at any flat earth videos. Makes a lot of sense. One thing he has done a lot is look at the Flat Earth app, so make sure you get that, because obviously Globers hate it, and I wonder why. Can't imagine why they would hate an app that absolutely shits on their globe belief. Can't imagine. Let's continue on now. We're going to continue watching this video. Here we go.
Just get yourself like a Nikon P900 or even the Nikon P1000.
Yeah, this is the P1000. This is the P900.
Listen to the music. Thanks a lot, Dylan. It didn't go unnoticed.
Right. Say like the P900 or the P1000.
I love it. How many P900 owners are in here?
Yeah, P1000.
Now the P1000's out. Wait till the P2200 comes out.
Let's take a look at one of their most common arguments. You can see really far.
You're getting into an idea of being able to see things that you shouldn't be able to see.
So, dude, I got kicked out of class as a kid because I said I could see across Lake Michigan.
But what they're actually seeing is an effect called Fata Morgana. It's essentially a mirage.
So I just showed you pictures of Alouche, France, of Canigou. And I showed you, or you can look up, photos of Chicago from across Lake Michigan. Is this what it looks like?
That bends light across.
Excuse me. Is this what it looks like? Is that what we were just seeing when we saw the reflection from behind the water? Is that what's going on? Is that she's 6 stories, a 6-story building behind the water, and that this is happening? Dylan, you couldn't be more wrong, my friend.
Makes it appear like you're actually seeing far-off landmarks. But if you don't...
No. It is you're seeing flat earth. See, this is the difference between a globe earther and a flat earther. A flat earther looks and says, there's the mountain. I see it. A globe earther says, there's the mountain. Well, actually, it's not really the mountain. It's inverted, and it's looming, and it's super refraction, and it's... They're making up things to explain what's right in front of them. We don't need to do that. I don't need to do that as a flat earther. Sorry, don't need to do it. I look across the water, I say, there's the buildings. Now, if they were wavy and they were inverted, they were upside down, like that picture he just showed. Let's go back there. And I have seen pictures of Chicago buildings that are like that are stretched and upside down. But I've also seen pictures that are completely and totally full. The buildings are right there. Time-lapse videos where it doesn't change. So, I mean, is this what we see when we see the buildings? No. This is inverted. This is reflecting off itself in the atmosphere. Okay? This is not at all what we're saying, completely misrepresenting my point. If you're going to go to the conference and you're going to comment on it, at least get my arguments right.
Seeing is an effect called Fata Morgana. It's
completely different than what we're actually seeing, folks. A Fata Morgana is 100% different than the mountains at Canigou. At Canigou, they're just mountains. The mountains are there. They're not like this. They're not wavy. They're not reflections of each other. It's just the mountain.
Essentially a mirage that bends light across the horizon and makes it appear like you're actually seeing far-off landmarks.
I don't know what this picture is showing here. This boat is in the water. So is this boat. They're in the water. People think that like we're seeing some sort of ghost lift this building up. No, or lift this boat up, or lift this boat up. No, sorry, that's not what's happening. This is the actual boat, and this is the actual boat, and this is all water. It's just the angle has become too small for you to see because of its reduced viewing angle. Let's continue.
But if you don't understand the physics or don't trust the credentials of those teaching you physics, I could understand not believing it.
Not believing what?
Would you say that again?
But for me, there is only one piece of evidence that I need.
Okay.
The edge.
The edge. This is the common argument from globe earthers who only can picture space as they've been taught in Star Wars and Star Trek and outer space. And once you have that in your mind, then you're like, well, wait a second. How does the flat Earth sit in space if I can't jump off into space? Because that's not the way it works. Think of the flat Earth model. Think of Antarctica at its outstretches. The sun can only go so far. It can only heat so much. The rest of it is just ice. So you can head out towards the outskirts all you want, but believe me, you'll never find an end. And you could just believe what I believe, which is the Earth is all there is. That's it. That the Earth is all there is. There is only the Earth. We live here. That's it. There's not other planets that you can travel to. We've never been to the moon. We don't, they faked the moon landings. They faked Mars landings. So we can't go there. Those aren't real places. They're places that exist in stories. Stories. Now, a lot of people, even if they go to the Flat Earth Conference, can't get that. They think, well, I must be able to go to the edge of the Earth and jump off into space. No, that's not the way it works.
The edge is...
Space or the sky is above you. Always. Because that's all there is. There's no sky and stars below you. Below your ass. Sorry.
Is one of those topics people bring up. It's a red herring.
Absolute
red
herring.
Off the edge because it's contained, right?
But if the Earth is flat,
so there you go. We got the Earth flying through space as this ugly ass disc. Nobody believes that. Nobody. I've never met a flat earther, never had a hangout with a flat earther who said, "Well, we must exist as a flying disc in space." Only globe earthers who have an inability to see flat Earth points think that.
There must be an actual edge.
No, there doesn't have to be an actual edge. Who said that? You went to the Flat Earth Conference. Not one person said there's an actual edge there at the conference, yet you're claiming that if the Earth is flat, there must be an edge. No, there's not. Sorry. Go walk out that way, and eventually it'll just be too cold for you to continue. And it'll be too cold for your plane to continue, and it'll be too cold for your skidoo to continue. So you're not going to find an edge. Sorry.
So why can't I go there?
I just told you.
And while a lot of flat earthers would say that the whole flat Earth theory is when it comes to Antarctica, that's a big mysterious part of this whole equation, like what truly is Antarctica.
What's to the edge? Well, they don't let us necessarily go there.
Now you got the Antarctica Treaty, where you got 40 countries that basically signed it.
Listen to the clown music being played behind her while actual people are making real points that are important to this conversation. Does he actually care about these points when he goes back, makes a video, and puts clown music behind him? No.
A deal that say that only military and science can go there.
The problem with it is they have a treaty that bans anybody that is a normal person like you and myself to go to Antarctica.
Do you understand that argument, Dylan? Because I'm not sure that you do. I'm not sure that you get it, that you can go and talk to these scientists that have been down there for years. And what do they tell you when somebody asks, hey, can you just go off by yourself and take a walk? They're like, no, there is one trail and we have to go with 6 people and nobody's allowed 10 feet off the trail one way or the other. Now, granted, that could be for safety, but it also could prove our point.
Well, what they've done is there's an Antarctic treaty.
And yes, you can take a guided tour there, but you need permission first. You know, I don't know if you've ever tried to go to Antarctica.
So even if you wanted to try to check it out, you're either with a group that's monitored and they take you to certain sections.
Absolutely 100% true.
Can you afford to go there?
No, it's $25,000. I've looked into it. Many people said, hey, we'll help donate if you go down to Antarctica and take some video. And I looked into it. It's $25,000 minimum for me just to go down there for a few days. And how do I even know the weather's going to be nice enough for me to take video?
You can't just take a plane. You're going to have to get permission from the government. And once you get there, they'll allow you to take a picture of some penguins and they'll take you to a ceremonial pole.
But say I do get there.
Great point, Robbie.
Can I fall off?
Well, here we go again with the falling off. Didn't you just listen to all these guys explain to you? Didn't you just hear it?
Well, it's the highest altitude.
Well, I mean, it's a 200-foot, and most places. I mean, it could be taller. I've never been there.
Yeah.
So the idea that you wouldn't be able to...
And it's not just 200 feet off the water. They're talking about that ice shelf that you see that then levels off into a plain of Antarctica. But that goes much, much higher, like 2 miles high. So there is no falling off. You're just going through mountains. You're getting further away from the sun. It's getting colder and colder. It's getting harder and harder to operate machinery. And so that's why when we look at flights, like I always bring it up, ZQ pilot, who I saw, he has the record for the fastest flight around both poles, North Pole and South Pole. But I've shown it before. Let's look at it real quick before I say it and don't show you. Let me transfer you over to here just because I want to show you because it's hilarious. And it was one of the things that, turned me into a flat earther. Look up ZQ pilot. Also hilarious that this guy has never come back and had an interview, won't talk to anybody. Supposedly was supposed to overfly both poles. Here's the path, and let me show you two things. Are you looking at the screen? Yes. Two things. The white line is the projected flight path. He was supposed to go from North Carolina down to somewhere in South America, down to Argentina, down to Brazil. Then he was supposed to fly around the South Pole to New Zealand, then up to Hawaii, across. What did he end up doing? He ended up doing the red line. He flew North Carolina down to here, down to Argentina, down to Brazil, flew to the 90-degree marker, flew back to Brazil, then went up to Easter Island all the way around here to New Zealand, then up here, and they gave him the record. They called this circumnavigation. The guy flew to the South Pole and flew back to the point that he started from here in Brazil, then went this way, and they call that circumnavigation. Folks, that's all I needed to see, and I don't know why it's not all you need to see. That's considered circumnavigation? That's going over both poles? What this guy did in red? That's not going over both poles. This is easily done on a flat Earth. Easily. But he holds the record for north-south circumnavigation in a plane by yourself. Give me a break. And if we go back here, let me just back up one time. Go to his Facebook page and tell me this. Riddle me this. His last post, January 23rd, 2015, and all these posts of where he's at and what direction he's going. Oh, not now. Get out of here. All these different posts, what direction he's going and everything. And he's posting until the day that he gets back, and then he stops posting altogether. His last post ever was January 23rd, 2015. I tried contacting him. I tried contacting his wife. Tried contacting anybody I could to get an interview with this guy. Like, why did you get to 90 degrees and turn around? His excuse, according to these, is the weather was too bad. Well, exactly. That's what I just said. That's what I just claimed. I just claimed if you go too far away from the Earth, it will become impossible for you to continue traveling. So what did he do? He went back this way. He got to he said, oh, it's getting crazy. Weather's crazy. Here it is. He couldn't do it because flat Earth. Hey, thank you. That's awesome. I like to see people with that. Dead silent. No more updates. No media coverage. Yeah, exactly. Not even close. Go around the pole, south to north. Not turn around. That's too funny. This even counts. Thank you. I'm so happy people start seeing this stuff. Flat Earth. No one circumnavigates the Earth north to south. It's impossible. There it is, folks. Because when you get to the south, you can't go further, so you turn around and you come back. And if these kind of people are getting records, if they're getting the record for then what else do you need to know? That there is no way to go north-south and circumnavigate the Earth. You will get to the South Pole and you have to go back because you're getting to the outskirts. But people don't see it. Anyway, this is EQ Pilot. This is exactly what we're trying to say when you're talking about this conference here. What he's trying to say, well, we can just take a plane and go fly to the edge. Well, why is it that people go to the 90-degree marker and they can't even fly across it? I got another story. The girl that skied to the South Pole, I looked up her trek and looked up her blog. She has a blog. She went to the South Pole, turned around, and came back. And I was like, wait, I don't understand. If you're going to ski, if I'm somebody who can ski, you're not going to catch me out there cross-country skiing across the South. But if I did, and somebody said, hey, Jaron, you're going to go to the South Pole, I'm going to be like, cool. Then I would say, well, I'm going to keep going all the way across. I mean, I'm down in Antarctica. I might as well cross Antarctica. It's the same thing if I go to 90 degrees and turn around and just come back to where I came from. But She did that. She went to 90 degrees, turned around, and came right back. So I wrote her an email and said, hey, I'm just wondering, why didn't you go all the way across? You had every opportunity. You were at the South Pole. Why not continue? She told me for them to pick her up on the other side of Antarctica would be an additional $50,000. Why? Why would that be the case? Why would that be the case? Well, it's because it's impossible to go across. It's all you need to do is look at these things. And once you see that the South is so much more expanded than we're taught, and you go look up cruises from New Zealand to South America, doesn't that sound fantastic? Cruises from Australia to South America, doesn't that sound fantastic? Well, they don't exist. They all go north, up by Japan, up by the Philippines, around by Alaska, down the west coast of the United States, and then into South America. Why don't they cross that water? Well, because it's thousands of miles further than they tell you. That's why. How do we know? Look up undersea cables. So undersea cables. Thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Let's see. Submarine cables. Let's look at the images of the submarine cables. See if we can find a map. Here we go. So all the submarine cables, none of them go across the southern oceans. Like, why isn't there submarine cables from here down to here? Maybe there's a better image. Here we go. Okay. All the submarine cables go up here and across and then down here. Why don't they go across? The reason why is because if you contract some company and say, hey, we need 6,000 miles worth of cable because we're going to run it from here to here, and then they get out in the boat and they get to a certain point and they're like, we're out of cable. What do we do now? Well, they can't have that happen, can they? So what do? They send all the cables up north across the areas that we know are consistent with flat Earth and globe Earth, and these bottom areas where the distance is too much, the distance is far greater than we've been told. But again, people want to just look and say, well, planes fly in the south, and therefore that proves it. I've already shown a million times, and I don't know how to show you real quickly, but let's see here. Let's get a real quick AE map up here. AE map. Excuse me. All right, so we're just going to look at this map real quick just so I can show you something. So a lot of people say when we talk about this flight going this distance, they're like, well, that's too far because we know that this distance is actually only 6,000 miles. But here's what you have to remember. If it's 6,000 miles and they do it in 11 and a half hours, let's bring up this calculator. I'm not sure if you can see this. Probably not. But I'm doing 6,000 miles and I'm dividing by 11 and a half hours, and we get 521 miles per hour, okay? So that plane is going 521 miles per hour to cover 6,000 miles in 11 and a half hours. Well, let me show you something very interesting. That down here, when you fly this direction, you get the southern jet stream, okay? That jet stream goes 250 miles per hour, sometimes more, sometimes a little less. 250 miles per hour, and it carries the entire plane, and all the air that the plane is flying through is being carried by the jet stream. So either you have to believe that we'll take that 521 and we're going to minus out the 250 mile per hour jet stream that it's getting for free, and so the plane is actually going 271 miles per hour. Can you imagine? 271, it's going 6,000 miles, and it's being helped by a 250 mile per hour tailwind. Or do you think, now we'll just add that back in. We'll add the 250 back in, add 250. We're back at 521 now. Now let's add the 250 mile per hour wind that's helping it. All right, there we go. Now the plane is going 771 miles per hour, and guess what? It's not even breaking the sound barrier because the entire plane and the air it's traveling in are being pushed by the jet stream. The plane is not going through any air at faster than the speed of sound. And what do we get? 771 miles per hour. Let's multiply that by 11 and a half hours. And what do we get now? All of a sudden, that plane can be going 8,875 miles in the same amount of time as we think it's going 6,000 miles. It's that easy. It's that easy. It's done by a computer, and nobody would know. Not the pilot, not the people on the ground, not the passengers. Nobody would know that this plane is able to travel 8,875 miles instead of 6,000 miles in the same amount of time unless you do some research of your own. Sorry to get off on a tangent there. Let's continue with more of this nonsense.
To fall off because it's very high.
And once I'm on top of the big Game of Thrones wall, couldn't I just jump off into space?
Nice. And once I'm on top of the big Game of Thrones wall, nobody believes that. Nobody. Nobody at all. If you're talking about the ice wall, all you need to put is Antarctic ice wall. It's a tough search, Dylan, real tough. And we're talking about this. So are you talking about getting up on, this is just a plane of snow here. This is the plane of snow. So if you're talking about the ice wall, people are talking about this. It's an ice wall that holds in the oceans. That's what they're talking about. There's no Game of Thrones ice wall. You said, once I get on top, can't I just jump off? Well, sure. Once you get off here, what do you mean, jump off into the water? Or you mean jump off over here somewhere? Sorry, keep going this direction, and you'll eventually get escorted back by the police. You'll get killed, or you'll get too cold and you'll die. Sorry, I don't know which one. Go ahead and try it out, and make sure you live stream and show us. By the way, there is no stops for Arby's or McDonald's anywhere on this trek that you might take after you get over the quote-unquote Game of Thrones ice wall. Nobody is saying that there's an ice wall like the Game of Thrones. They're saying that there is Antarctica, which is an ice shore. Okay? Like this. It's an ice shore. See this boat pulled up to the ice shore. It's an ice shelf. You can get up there. Once I get up there, can I just jump off? Sure. You want to jump back in the water? What do you mean? You don't even understand the arguments to make this video.
Wow, you know, if you could get there.
Well, we have planes.
Planes.
Planes fly at 40,000 feet.
Who gets to fly those planes?
That's the thing with arguing with a flat earther. There's
Oh.
always an explanation for their side, until there isn't.
Well, that's the thing about arguing about it with a globe earther. There's always an explanation for their side until there isn't. I mean, what kind of argument is this? What kind of video are you making?
And when there isn't, it's not their fault.
One of the best things you can say sometimes is, I don't know.
I don't have a problem with that. He's highlighting that I just said that sometimes the best thing you can say is, I don't know. That's absolutely great advice. And this guy put it in his video as if there's a problem with that. Like, nope, you should always know everything. What are you talking about?
And again, you brought up the azimuthal equidistant map. Again, I'm not even saying that's 100%. I don't know. That's the one thing.
Great. Did you just hear Robbie say that? I don't know. What's more appreciative and more intellectually honest than that?
If you're trying to ask questions with flat earth people like, okay, well, how does your model work? I would say for me personally, I would never hold to any one model. I'm just seriously questioning the reality and what we've been taught.
If the world
That's why I kind of like this video a little bit, because he's allowing people, he at least put that in there. I think that was well said, perfectly said, Robbie.
governments are keeping us from seeing the edge, I wanted to...
Nobody's keeping us from seeing the edge. No, who's ever said that? Who's ever said that? NASA, just like any other plane, just like the ZQ pilot, would fly towards the South Pole and it would get impossible to fly further and they'd have to turn back. What are they going to do? Just keep flying into the clouds with no idea where the nearest stop station is, or nearest airport where they can land, or nearest place they can refuel? You just think people have death wishes? Give me a break.
To know if any of these flat earthers would be interested in going to space to see for themselves if the world is a globe.
Well, no, I wouldn't trust anybody to say, we'll put you in a rocket, especially after everything that I've said.
I mean, Mad Mike Hughes is the guy you should talk to.
This is Mad Mike, a 62-year-old daredevil and world's coolest former limousine driver.
This is my second rocket that I've launched.
Yeah.
I've actually built 5. And this was just to prove that I could launch myself vertically in my own rocket that I built in my garage.
He does it to raise awareness about the flat earth movement, but his
No, he really doesn't do it to raise flat earth awareness. I've never even heard him say that.
ultimate goal is to go to space.
That is his ultimate goal, to go to space.
What'd you get?
1,875 feet.
That's amazing.
It actually probably should have gone 2,500 feet up, which is close to half a mile.
Unfortunately for Mike, even if he makes it up all the way into space, apparently he won't be able to trust his own eyes.
Absolutely. Well, he'll be able to trust his own eyes, but what are his eyes inside, Dylan?
Well, here's my problem, Mike, with that. I said, are you going to be wearing one of these NASA helmets? Are you going to be wearing...
Right. When he gets up to look at the Earth, is he going to be wearing a helmet? Well, of course. You have to wear a helmet when you're up there. Is the glass going to be curved on the front of the helmet? Every helmet I've ever seen has curved glass.
A pressurized helmet? He said, yeah, absolutely, I have to, obviously, right? Well, obviously the glass is curved. So I told him, this is all part of their design. You're going to get up there and you're going to see this kind of view, because it does the same thing to everybody's view who wears a motorcycle helmet or anything that's got that kind of curved glass. So he said he's going to look into trying to make sure that before he goes up, he looks through and makes sure that there is no distortion. I hope so too. Otherwise, he could come back and say, oh, when I was up there, the Earth appears to be curved. Well, again, is it the glass or is it the Earth?
Now, I wonder why I would say that. Let's look at a few things here. This is somebody from a video called, am I hopefully showing you the right video? Yeah, I am. So just looking through from the inside of this astronaut's helmet to the outside, look at the reflection of these lights. Look how everything curves right in front of you. It curves right there. We don't even need to see anything else. Any helmet that has curvature on it will show you things through it as if they're curved. Plus, add to that we have spherical eyes. Picture looking out at the beach horizon as far as you can see, and it's a straight level line as far as it can go. Well, if you got higher and higher and higher, your spherical eyes will cause the corners that you're looking at to pull back. That's the way our eyes work. And if you turn to see, well, is that actually curving? You turn to that direction, and now that direction is your focus, and now the curvature will continue to show on your right and left. It's not curvature, and people have a hard time understanding that somebody lied to you, that you've been fooled. It's just that easy. Let's go. This is Adam Savage's helmet. Look at these helmets. Every helmet, look it through it. You can just see the curvature of the lights. I mean, are you telling me that lights are curved? No, they're not curved. That's what the helmet does. So when Mad Mike gets up inside, and look at the curvature here. So imagine that you're looking at a straight line horizon from space, or from a rocket ship, or from Richard Branson's craft, and you're looking through a curved glass. You're going to see a horizon look like it's curved. People can't even get that. They can't get that. They can't get that the glass itself is curved. And it's just ridiculous. When will you ever be up high enough and be able to see the earth with your own two eyes, not behind a piece of curved glass? Anybody? It's impossible. It'll never happen. So they've ransacked it. They've hijacked science, and they're going to make you believe that what you're seeing is actually true. You can even see this light back here curved. So imagine we're looking at a horizon line back here from way up high. It's going to appear to curve to us on our far left and right of our perspective, or whatever you want to call it, that our peripheral view. Thank you. Let's continue on, but I actually think that was a great point that I made. I'm glad he put it in there, but I don't think he understands it at all. He basically saying, well, flat earthers say you can trust your own eyes, but now you can't even trust your own eyes. No, you can't trust your eyes when it's behind curved glass, Dylan. Let's continue.
They went from only being able to trust their own eyes to not being able to trust their own eyes.
No, you can trust your own eyes. You cannot trust your eyes when it's behind curved glass. This is not even difficult. It's the same thing as the curve in any camera. It's the same thing. The aperture. It's all the same.
Great. This belief has made its way into the NBA, BOB.
Yeah, it's made its way into the NBA. By the way, speaking of that, did anybody see Steph Curry just came out with something where I think it was, I don't remember which newspaper it was in, where he said he doesn't think we went to the moon. Brilliant. We did not go to the moon. Anybody who still thinks that we did clearly cannot research on their own, clearly just believes the word of lying men who have a lot of money.
He raps about it, but probably the biggest musical celebrity within the Flat Earth community closed out the conference.
One and only Flat Earth man.
Well, I know it's a really hard pill to take when somebody said the satellites could be fake. Don't you find it a little suspicious that you can't find any real satellite picture? No, it's hard to believe, but baby, we'll not be deceived. The satellite host, just a little one of them, NASA Jones. You can't find me a picture of a satellite.
Can't.
CGI. That's Flat Earth Man, or
so basically, you can watch the rest of the video. He covers a little conversation he had with Flat Earth Man, and we'll see if we can kind of.
Well, I'm fairly certain that about 80% of flat earthers on the internet are trolls.
Well, he's fairly certain that 80%. No, sorry, people don't troll to be flat earthers. It's just not even something people would do. People do not want to be laughed at. They do not want to be humiliated. They don't want to be outcast because of a society that has been conditioned since birth to believe that they live on a spinning ball in space. It's spinning. It's flying through endless space. Oh, space never ends. It's always expanding. And these are just theories by guys who have never even been up there, never even observed it. They just read it out of a book and repeat it.
Everybody at this conference seemed like true believers.
Thank you.
Well, except probably Logan Paul, who is here for some reason.
Well, he pretty much said he believes it, so I don't know why you would discredit that, but go ahead.
I can't say that I left the conference a believer, but I made some...
No, you didn't leave the conference a believer. You went with no intent on even listening to anything anybody said. If you did, there's no way you would have made this video. It's completely nonsense. It misrepresents our entire points. You made nonsense, assertions that you're flying across the Pacific Ocean when you go from Toronto to Japan, for God's sakes.
Friends, met some interesting characters, and hey, they sure know how to party.
flap, y'all.
So if they want to carry on thinking that the Earth is flat,
Thank
what's
you.
the harm?
Right. We're not watching this because there's gratuitous drug use here, so we won't watch the rest of that. So basically, that's a majority of what I wanted to say about this video. Dylan, I think you did a terrible job. Thank you for attending. I just wish you would have listened rather than sit in the back and roll your eyes and pretend that you're better than anybody who would ever believe this. If you look into it, you'll become a flat earther. That's the way it goes. So, I appreciate everybody watching. I want to real quick check the super chat, make sure I didn't miss any questions. So thank you very much, Hooligan, for the super chat. I say another $5 super chat that somebody deleted the message. Can I look at it? I probably don't want to see it. I can't see it. Big Yellow One's the sun. Thank you, Roddy K. Appreciate that. James Sims says, water bubbles in space, vacuum impossible since they'd instantly boil and vaporize. I've understood correct. Does NASA explain air bubbles in their pool? No, they can just say they're flecks of paint. This is how easy it is when you control the entire narrative. There's nobody else who can go up. I'm going to go up and check on NASA and see if there really are specks of paint. No, it's just whatever they say versus what we say, and we're just a crazy bunch of flat earthers who are making videos on YouTube, and we live in our mom's basements and all the other things that you hear. So people don't want to look into it. They want to believe in the lies of NASA because they love their space-based religion. They love the fantasy world of Mars, and we're going to go and we're going to land on Europa and Jupiter, the gas planet, and Saturn, the super gas planet. It's just nonsense. And Yogi's Beer, thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. So thank you for all the super chats. I do appreciate that. And if you want to talk to me some more, we're about an hour away from Monday Night Raw. That'll be right here on this channel. Don't go anywhere. And guys, I do appreciate, as always, you joining me. Remember to do your own research, because when you do, you'll never again believe what you've been taught. Real quick, Amazon link if you want to help me out. When you shop at Amazon, if you shop at Amazon, just go to j.mp/JaronAMZ before you go to Amazon to shop. It'll take you to Amazon, and you can just do your normal shopping from there. You spend the same amount of money. The only difference is I get a small percentage, so I would appreciate that a lot. And lastly, thank you to all my patrons. They are, what keeps me going, what allows me to keep making these videos. So if you want to join them, it's patreon.com/jeranism. It is the coolest group ever. And here's the other thing. If you hate my videos, or you hate me, or hate the things that I'm saying, don't donate. Don't watch. It's pretty much that simple. However, if I've opened your eyes a little bit, a little kickback would always be great. It allows me to keep doing these videos, which I very much enjoy. So again, do your own research, because when you do, you'll never again believe what you've been taught. Till next time, guys, an hour from now, this has been Jeranism. Peace!